charge me.
Wow.
Like last night.
It should stay alive.
It's people into the 21st century. Who keeps bringing these waters and leaving them? Ain't mine.
Paperwork. Some, yeah. Seal. Two that portals on you.
I'll take what you have there. They said you.
The note purchase agreement. Is it there?
Okay.
It's really unusual. I know. Exactly. It's the next road. Just build them. Now that it's like standing in the yard. Traffic. Good. She's hosting. Not anywhere near the.
Actually did this. He was brought a message this past week, Sunday at our church, so.
Just out of our church.
Don't sign.
We don't have a whole bunch.
Signing.
We have a few.
Got teenage.
Yeah.
Good. Some of them your own.
One or two of them are mine.
Great.
Resolution.
Right now, about 7 that are pretty faithful, and I have 3 other ones that kind of fade in and out.
Well, that's great. That's, we don't even have a. Buddy, conference, because we have anybody at that age.
Oh, sure.
Mark, how'd your test go? I don't need a blow by blow, I just.
He's gonna need.
Yeah.
surgery.
Yeah, we might get her Friday.
Jeez.
This was.
It was, he's on blood pressure medicine. So I put him under medicine or any pulse. Check another year. They said 5 years.
Yeah.
College. All years. Gotta do it. Switch doctors. Oh. All to the point where it's got to start keeping. Salt put in them. something else to fix it, otherwise, it's something that they can do. Cover time. About 6 months. I mean, that's probably totally covered. That's back.
Well, I got my first bill today from the county for putting up 4 signs.
Summer. Last fall, next summer.
300 and some odd hours, it's $400.
Fall. Work down there, summer.
That's just one section now. Like, holy,
We got. Tom gets concerned with like less than 1%. It's like 1% now that he's having problems.
kids.
Right. I think about future next.
Why they test it all the time. One of the things to get it. One of man. Head cool. Shots to the.
Saw them advertising.
And that's a big. But
What's that?
purchase.
Yeah. Right across.
Oh, I turned mine on, so I don't know.
Oh. Push it to the top.
Boss, maybe you get a raise.
Yeah, there you go.
I can't even get my keyboard to work today. This thing is
It's
so,
needed over there?
my keyboard don't even work.
Okay.
Yeah, my keyboard don't work.
Well, use mine.
I tell you, this thing is.
I think they'll.
Yeah, they can. Everything's
Owner one probably.
down, right?
Big size difference.
I haven't really seen that bill.
They can connect, but I think until you start the meeting.
And like.
Almond.
Yeah.
You should be able to.
73.
Well, there's
By
big
speed.
space.
Put up a sign. Shut up.
When it's a year.
The road that goes to like Huron.
Clear for one.
Both recreate.
So we can't. Just ignore it.
But did you do this with the U-shaped post?
Well, no. I don't think it's not a part of the fire.
Yeah, if you don't, you can remove that option and then.
Road sometimes.
The main, you can start. Yeah.
Not much car.
For the discussion.
Yeah,
Actually could bother my boss.
Once that-
Normally they don't bother me.
I've known him longer than you have.
The meeting itself connects.
I knew him when he was pooping in his pants.
Oh, okay.
It's getting there. I've got a walking stick in my truck.
Really? Better all charged up, Bob?
So one day I'll.
So you told Donna you're all charged up?
Like Tuttle Lake. That's where it's our own system. Four of us was ringing wet by noon. Oh.
sign your life away.
Zoning part, people have to sign, not me.
Oh, yeah, that won't be on tonight, that's for sure.
Really?
I doubt it.
No, I'll give it to her. You can put it on next month then.
What was that for?
ATVs.
Oh.
I hope you have deep pockets. Costs money, I hope you have deep pockets. Am I? I don't know, see if that'll work.
Put your keyboard next to your
Well, I
chair.
tried starting it before, it wouldn't start, so I just shut it off again.
Not anymore.
Honey, here you go.
Who's supposed to tell?
Megan.
I don't, ask me.
Hey,
That's a question.
I don't think you can do it because it's a sound issue.
The
You
whole
get
thing
in.
won't connect? Or,
I couldn't. even
Ryan
get the
says that's
computer to
probably,
Turn on today.
for my own good.
Okay, let's see if this comes up now.
this is gonna be great.
Done. Good.
I
Thank you.
just love it. It's so much fun.
Now we're shutting down again.
So go home right now. Oh, lovely.
That's
Okay,
how
now
far
we're-
we got last time.
I got two of mine. It doesn't make any difference. Which one. You have no idea.
You like it.
Mark, you got mine if you got two.
There you go. It's easy to
On
get.
sign in, there's nothing we have to sign in.
Just click, well.
Got your tablet?
Yep. You want
Yeah.
Oh, let's try it one more
Okay.
time.
Wait
Wait
until the
until-
roll is called. So
Okay, when the roll is
You
called.
dare not bring that.
my end is connected now. I can see you lit up over there.
Updates.
No. I charged mine. I even brought my charger along.
Oh, yeah,
Honest to God.
I charged mine, so it should be good, but
Loses its charge.
yeah.
Good.
I think we're good, kiddo.
You've got problems.
I got problems again, I'm shutting down. Now it'll go black. No, watch. I'll hit the
Hey,
button.
Piasky,
I'll hit the button.
I don't want you and
Bam.
Brandon to be playing Jeopardy up there.
So he just said there.
Me, I wasn't doing that.
Just saying, if your fingers do better than mine. I couldn't do no. I opened it up.
You didn't even say it.
I won't do nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Oh, you're serious.
Barry, he's having some issues with his.
You have to sign into it.
Click sign in
Hey, how is
and
it?
then show up as connected.
Hey, Megan,
Say connect to server. Please check the user. So he can't connect.
I
His
have-
tablet won't start.
I have two of them here, so,
All my keyboard's working.
Breathing in.
yeah, I'll look at the other icon.
I got my keyboard working now. It just shutting down
It's been stuck on shutting down.
since I opened my computer up.
Make it go faster.
Good.
I couldn't get that to work.
Hi, Pat.
You got this.
you got the
Pat.
magic touch.
I couldn't get it to work. You got the magic touch.
Yeah.
I held the thing, I don't know for how long, but it was flickering and then that was it.
And very nice and Mike's.
The mic should be on. Donna's is muted because I was up there yelling into it while.
No, you weren't. No way.
Briefly, but I have to go to East Central Plant. I'll sit in my bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be the only one that.
Yeah.
But very much.
I did, I logged you in.
That's good, because otherwise it'd be a repeat of last month.
While I was standing here, so I figured I would just do it.
Jerry broke his already.
Yeah, we fixed it now.
It took three of us to try to call it off.
Go
Everyone
back
was
to
in
you.
charge.
Well, I said to the deputy doctor, so. Hope you got that. Charge you up. Better negotiate.
Which side?
Oh, look at
I
that.
think you're good.
There.
And you see, you have your name.
You need to
Mine
get-
is.
I think it's on.
2 hours and 24 minutes.
Let's get you fired up.
You would have
Need some help there, Larry?
86.
Password. For,
I don't know. Get into Microsoft Outlook.
slide in.
I can
Hey,
do
how do I
that.
get on?
There, you went and got a keyboard, huh?
It's opened up, but how do I get to whatever you want me to get to?
Black thing.
Barry's coming.
What's that?
There's a little thing that looks like a TV screen with a person in it, and you tap that.
Oh, morning.
Everett needs help getting on.
To do?
That's okay. Let's close out all of this stuff. Dismiss them all.
Thank you.
So far.
He's gonna play Jeopardy tonight again.
Where are we amending for the snowmobile?
Who are we waiting for? Everybody here?
663.
I feel like I typed that wrong. Huh, I did.
Okay, some of these
Let it
I'm
bug
gonna
you.
get done.
You let it
now.
bug you.
I didn't let it. He did.
Here's the cap.
Yeah, there we go. There, now you can make it full
So you
screen.
remember.
I don't remember.
Hmm?
Pat says his name on mine, my
Somewhere
name is
somewhere.
blacked
I
out,
don't
but
remember what-
Waushara County Board is on there. Barry? My name is blocked out. Does that matter?
Your name is locked.
It's blocked out, just like it's. Like up here. Oh, no, it didn't. That's weird. I had two things and I went to the second one and that worked.
Showing- oh, there, you took them off.
See, the bottom one didn't work before, the top one did. That's one I was just in.
Oh, no. I don't like this. Do to get it back on. Yeah, it was on before and it went off.
All Barry.
There we go. That looks better.
I know there's probably just something here.
That's,
Anything.
is that when you just, yeah, okay, yep, okay.
Yeah, we're good here.
There you go, thanks.
Looks like that.
Oh, now you took my screen off. There it goes.
So far.
There you go.
Barry,
Yes. It went off. Give me 1 second. I gotta fix Mike's here, because I don't think he's been
It'll be
on.
good, Bob. It'll be good. All's good.
You ain't heard my motion yet.
I don't think I'm calling on you.
Huh?
I don't think I'm calling on you.
Well,
Yeah.
that's right. I was
I think
supposed to
that's
stay home
the
this
password.
night.
I really don't remember.
You said you were going to.
And miss all this fun?
I know.
Come on.
We have to learn.
Off of the one day.
Yeah, we did everything but
Do I
that.
want to?
part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the chair. You get to
We're almost there. I'll
Maybe I
come
can
back
get
to
in right
you.
away then, huh?
Probably, Bob. He's younger than we are. He has
Yeah.
better reflexes. This didn't. No. Got it.
Don't say that, Bob. Don't say that.
You're gonna-
Yes.
All right, it's 7:04. We'll call the meeting to order. Megan will do roll call. Yes,
They do it on.
okay. Okay, you do your roll call on your tablet. Yeah, that you're present. Oh, no, Barry's. Oh, now it's back. I did this.
You're the one that voted for this.
You're a big help, Mark.
You're the one that got this going.
Okay, Megan, we've done. All right, roll call shows that everyone here is here except Brandon Mafiglio. He has been excused. He's doing his Army stuff at Fort McCoy for a couple of weeks, so. He reminded me today he wouldn't be here.
Protecting us.
All right, let's stand for silent prayer and pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We are going to have a presentation right now by Barry and Megan. They're going to review this program that we have for voting. So please be patient. If you have any questions, be sure and ask them.
So obviously last time was our first meeting, so we were able to work through a few things and a few questions came up. So we just wanted to do a quick review to address some of the questions that came up and to do a couple of practices again so that we can work through those. Obviously this is a learning curve and it's new for all of us, so we're all learning together on it. So I've got, let's see, a couple of practice resolutions in here. Sure, that would be good. Okay, so I've got practice resolution number 1 displayed up on the screen. I'm not sure if it's coming up on your end yet or not.
Yes.
Okay, so one thing that I talked with Chair Collada and Barry on to slow down the meeting a little bit so that we all have time to make our motion and say what our motion is. We adjusted a setting in here so that when you make a motion, I'll have to acknowledge it on my end to give you time to state what your motion is. That way somebody's not making a second before you know what you're seconding. So if somebody pushes the motion button, it's going to show up and I'll acknowledge that. Let's just say Supervisor Tim made a motion. That'll then give him the opportunity to state what his motion is, and then you'll be able to second it if you so choose. Then we'll proceed with normal like we did last time. Does that make sense? So I have, let's see, the resolution number 1. The other thing we wanted to show you is I've got some sample text in there of summaries to show you. I hope I did it right. I plugged some text in there so you can see the text of the resolution so you don't have to flop back and forth between your packet and the program all the time. Is that summary part showing up on their tablet right now?
Same as up there.
Yep, so where it says practice resolution number 1, and then just below it, it says this is the item summary where you will find the text of the resolution. So that should show up on your tablet when we pull up the discussion item. Are they on there right now, Barry? 'Cause-
Yeah.
Okay.
Send it, Larry.
Got it, okay. So if you want to click back and forth between your packet, is there an easy way for them to do that, Barry?
If you did that.
So that way you can pull up the packet. I can't put all of the text into the roll call system. I can't put like images and PDFs and that type of thing in there, but I can put the text of the resolutions. So that'll give you something to reference there. So if I maximize the summary, I can put it up on the big screen as well, and then it'll show up also on your end. So I just wanted to do these couple of practice ones to do so I'm going to click on it so that we can bring this practice resolution number 1 to a vote right now. So if somebody would like to make a motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go on.
Sorry, let me back up. See, now I'm moving too fast. Do you have the motion button showing on your tablet right now? So if somebody can make a motion. Okay. Oh, okay. I've got a couple of them coming through. So I have a motion by Supervisor King. So then Supervisor King would need to state what his motion is.
So you hit the yellow.
Excuse me?
Do you hit request to speak then or not?
You've just pressed the button to make a motion.
I did.
Yep. So what is your motion?
So to approve resolution 1.
Your motion is to approve resolution 1. So I'm clicking OK on that. So now you should have the opportunity to second that motion. Do you see that on your tablets? Okay, so I have a recorded motion by Supervisor King and a second by Supervisor Eckstein. Okay. So then we can bring it to a vote. So,
Then I'm on.
pardon?
Then I'm on, right?
Yes.
There's a
So-
motion by Supervisor King, second by Supervisor Eckstein to approve.
And then is there any question
Yeah,
or
do you have any
discussion?
questions or comments concerning that? Hearing none,
So then we would go to vote.
go ahead and vote.
You can go ahead and put your vote in.
Abstain.
Okay, so now we can get our tally. Okay. So again, it's a setting in there where we can change it. We can go back to how we did it last time, or we can do it this way where it needs to be acknowledged before we can move on. It's entirely up to you guys how you want to have it set. We can change some settings if we don't like how we do it this time, so that it works for you guys. But this was just a way that we can slow it down a little bit. So I have one more practice resolution number 2. Is that showing up on your end yet? Okay. So if I bring it into discussion mode, it should be on your end now. So somebody can make a motion. So that was motion by Supervisor Jarvis. And what is your motion?
I make a motion to approve practice resolution number 2.
Okay.
Do we have a motion and do we have a second?
And there's a second by Supervisor King.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Jarvis and a second by Mr. King to approve. Is there any discussion?
It was up there. You just hit it.
So there is a new motion by Supervisor Tim to amend.
Movie table.
Okay. I don't know if that's in Robert's Rules of Order. We'll have to check with Ruth on that one.
Oh, boy, Larry.
Okay. So we can ignore that that amendment. Let's see. All right.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Jarvis, second by Mr. King. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. It's all time to vote.
All right, so questions after we went through those couple. Are you seeing on your screen where the text of the resolution is going to show up? Is that a little easier than having to go back and forth between the packet for you?
What if I did want to table?
Ruth, if we have a motion on the floor and we then decide we want to table it, we have to first vote on the original motion, and that would have to fail in
See, it
order.
comes up. Switch back and forth. See,
Let's
you
go
only
back
have,
to the
no, see, you only have two
package.
screens open, so.
I didn't hear her answer. Thank you.
So you could do your request to speak then, and Chair Collada would acknowledge you and you can make that motion. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Couple other things that we wanted to touch on. Barry does have some chargers out here now. If you didn't see them, there's one set for over here and one set for the other side. So if you do need help, if your tablet dies or you need help in the middle of the meeting, just flag Barry or myself down and we can help you with that. I think that was it, unless you guys have any other questions.
I would like to still be able to get paper on occasion.
You would like to what?
Paper,
Printed?
printed. It's very hard for me to read on the computer. These really small print, I can hardly read it. But paper I can, so.
So I have no problem printing packets. I know when the board made the decision to go with the tablets, the board voted on getting rid of paper and sticking with having everything done through tablets other than having a printed agenda. Like today you needed one. I have no problem printing an agenda if you need one. I know part of it was to save on costs of printing and mailing all of the packets to everybody, but I acknowledge that there's times where printing is small or it's hard to read things on a tablet. So, I mean, it's really a board decision if you'd like to do that.
You know, you can make the print bigger on here, on your screen.
I couldn't even get mine to come up last night, so computer at all, so. Then I had to wait to come in today to do it, and I work full time. I can't. I don't really have time to. It doesn't download the night before, and that's. I mean, why would I expect it not to? So.
Okay.
I have problems with Outlook, and I have to wait 5 minutes before it'll come on. It's gonna depend on your internet connection at your house. So whatever speed that you have is what it's gonna be determined as. So if it's a slower speed, that's gonna take it a little longer. It's like that for, I mean, it's like that for me too. If I go to wherever and have based on internet speed at that. Seems like with a long thing that's downloaded, it takes a lot longer for Outlook to come on. Like the county board agenda thing, very long, takes longer for it. Yeah, it's probably like the bigger packets, because it's more data, it's gonna take it longer to pull that
And
through.
I have 4 emails.
That's
Where they
not-
are.
And it has that problem. Don't know if you're. Anyone else have problems with their stuff loading slow?
Maybe just check with your provider or
Yeah.
see what speed you have. You can maybe increase it.
The other thing that you could do is when you come for your regular meetings, bring your tablet along, turn it on, and it'll download everything while you're here at the courthouse. Any other questions? All right, let's move along and I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as printed. You want to state your motion, Bob?
Should approve the agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Wadle, a second by Eckstein. Do you have any questions or comments? All in favor?
All right.
Next, we have approval of the minutes of the May 18th, 2021 monthly meeting. Do we have a motion to approve? We have a motion by Mr. Jarvis. Would you please state your motion?
I move to approve the minutes of the May 18th, 2021 meeting.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Second by Wadle. So we have a motion by Jarvis, second by Wadle. Do we have any questions or comments concerning the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have no unfinished business, so we're going to move to new business, and the county administrator's monthly report is going to be given by interim administrator Ruth Zowski. Ms. Zowski.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I have a problem with Outlook too, Larry. My inbox is always full. The position announcement for the county administrator was posted on June 4th. Applications are due July 6th. Exec will be meeting on July 12th with the consultants to see how many applications that we have gotten. And then we will be doing interviews. There'll be a 2-day process in August that will involve county board, executive committee, community panel, the department heads, a tour of the community, and then the consultants will be doing some testing with the candidates, and then all that information will be brought back together, and hopefully we'll have a recommendation for you at your August meeting that we can possibly act on at that time. So that's kind of the time frame that we're looking at right now. Samuels and the venture architect people are meeting with the departments every 2 weeks right now on initial design matters and space to make sure we have enough offices, closets, server space, rooms, storage. They will be here again this week, tomorrow and Thursday. We're talking about storage. This week that's the big topic. They're continuing to look for possible properties on the east side for EMS and Department of Aging, and looking for properties to meet the highway department's needs. They will be at your meeting next month to provide an update. We should have some of those initial plans hopefully done with all of the department's space needs and a kind of a configuration of a layout that we're looking at to make everybody fit and work in a cohesive manner out by the sheriff's department. We have started the budget process. It's very early in the process, so there are lots of things on your agenda tonight that relate to that. Non-union wages, the sheriff's department contract, the wage scale fixes that we've found that are going to try to help us with our recruiting and retainment. So that's all on the agenda. And then Sarah will continue to finalize the CIP plan. Hopefully that will be coming to county board in July. Departments will be working on their budgets, and then all of those will be presented to you initially in September, hopefully, and then with time to discuss it further in October, and then the public hearing, of course, will be in November. There's a blood drive tomorrow in the demo room. They still have spots available, and there's a shortage of blood as the Red Cross keeps calling me every 10 minutes today to remind me of my appointment tomorrow. So thanks to Michelle for arranging all of that with the Red Cross. And next month's meeting will be at the Saxville Town Hall. So I think that's about all that's been going on in the last month or so. I'll be talking to you a lot tonight. I have a lot on the agenda. I'm sorry. I'll talk fast.
All right, thank you, Ruth. Next, we have the Register of Deeds Annual Report. Our Register of Deeds, Heather Scherzinska, is going to give us a report. Good evening, Heather.
Good evening. Okay, so the Register of Deeds team consists of myself, a full-time deputy and a part-time deputy. Impacts of COVID-19 on the Register of Deeds offices. Early on in the pandemic, we were instructed to come up with a departmental plan. It was to serve as a way of hopefully avoiding closure, but also to address how we would handle any sort of partial or full closure of our offices. While putting that together, about the only hurdle that I came up with was how we would deal with recording paper documents that come in the mail. And after working with the treasurer's office and the county clerk's office, I think we had a good workaround for that. Assuming that the three of us were not ill, we had a workaround. If we were all in the hospital, it probably wouldn't happen. I alternated with my full-time deputy, Michelle, working from home. We each did that 1 to 2 days a week. And starting in May of this year, decreased that to 1 day. And then since starting June, our counter traffic has actually picked up quite a bit. So we're putting that whole process on hold. I'm proud to say that we never had an outbreak in our office and we never had to close. Our e-recording percentages continue to increase. By the end of 2019, we were at 56%. The end of 2020, we're at 64%. And by year to date this year, we're already at 66%. And while we've been e-recording since 2012, the pandemic really showed why that's important and showed how Wisconsin was really ahead of a lot of other states when it came to recording, because many states and counties had to shut down completely. So our online access revenues increased and our counter traffic decreased quite a bit, which allowed for us to do some teleworking projects. Like I mentioned, in the past few weeks, our traffic has ramped up. We're starting to issue more vital records. And so that's good because I was a little scared. I've already used it. A few of the big projects that we worked on remotely. I had mentioned last year our PIN-driven county initiative that we started. In Waushara County, there are over 35,000 parcel identification numbers. The parcel identification numbers and the addresses were pulled from the GIS database, and the legal descriptions from the Register of Deeds database was pulled, and that was put into, I think there were 5 sheets of a spreadsheet. And then what we had to do is we had to match up all 3 of those, we call them legs. And then it got imported back into our system. So now when we index a PIN number, it actually brings up the address and the legal description, and vice versa. Any of the 3 that you index, it'll bring up the rest of it for you. So it saves a lot of time, and it also increases accuracy. That took us between 4 and 5 months to complete. Had we done that just in the office, it probably would have taken us all of a year, possibly 2 years. By doing it internally, we saved $6,000, and we had no need to lay off staff. Why is this important? It allows the internal and remote searchers more options for searching. And again, during COVID, people didn't come into the office anymore to do their searching. It was all remote. key piece, it's also a key piece to our GIS and Register of Deeds map integration that we started in 2020. And it's also part of our parcel management module. Anchor is a module that enables us to validate accurate and deactivate inaccurate legal descriptions for subdivisions and certified survey maps. In 2020, we did 54 subdivisions and 3 CSM volumes. In 2021, we've already done 141 and have gotten through 20 CSM volumes. We have 11 CSM volumes left and 10 subdivisions of over 300. Why is this important? Our old indexing that has changed over time gets cleaned up. And also our new indexing is flagged. If there's errors in the document, we still have to record it, but it gives us a flag so that we know to notify the submitter that there's an issue and they might want to get it fixed. The third big project was the county abstractor duties. I think I started that in either late 2019 or 2020 was the first searches that I got from the treasurer's office, and I did 30 of those. Most of those are searches going back in the records from anywhere from 60 years to 100 years. It's extremely time consuming and very labor intensive. So I did those typically on my days at home. I would gather the information I needed in the office and then take it back to my workplace setup, and that's where I did that. This is important because it saves the county research and appraisal fees and provides documentation to determine the values of the properties needed by the executive committee. I would have told you before the pandemic that the Register of Deeds office is very important, especially to the real estate world. During the pandemic, it became even more obvious and apparent. Not only statewide, but nationwide, there was a huge increase in real estate transactions, whether it was sales or refinances. We were able to provide uninterrupted services and keep the real estate market going, and that was because of our technology and e-recording, our remote and online access, and the fact that our records are 40 years fully indexed. So title companies, most are required by their underwriters to search back a minimum of 40 years and some of them 60. The majority of the transactions were refinances, so they only had to go back 40 years. On March 20th of 2020, a letter from the Title Association, the Mortgage Bankers, and the Realtors Association was sent to Governor Evers. This was immediately prior to his Safer at Home order coming out. And basically what it asked, they had asked that the land records offices remain open as essential, especially because of their direct impact to the economy and stability. June 7th through the 13th was recognized by Governor Evers as Register of Deeds Week. There was an article in the September 2020 WCA magazine highlighting how our office coped with COVID-19. And just this month, there's a number of articles recognizing all of the different county constitutional officers. I was going to read them to you, but I know that you have already read them or will reread them. So.
I got one more to go.
Recorded documents. So as I mentioned, we recorded a record number of real estate documents this year, record number since 2007, 2008. We are already ahead of 2020's numbers. So the market is still hot. Real estate's hot. Interest rates are low. People are building. It's still busy. I previously mentioned transaction types. So mortgage and satisfaction types of documents indicate refinances. So year to date, we're already at 53%, and ending 2020, we were at 52%. Various deeds indicate sales and conveyances. At the end of 2020, 35% of our records that were recorded were for a sale or a conveyance, and year-to-date, we're already at 34%. Vital records, many of you have heard, especially in exec, that I was concerned that our traffic had decreased and we were issuing less vital records, but by really in all actuality, we were only down 40 record issuance, which I think is pretty good for considering. And that was largely due to there was less travel, there were fewer passports issued, fewer weddings in place, and the Department of Transportation extended the Real ID deadline, which was set to expire October of this year and has now been extended to May of 2013 or 2023. And again, year to date, we're already seeing increases in those numbers, so that's a good sign. Other revenues, our online revenues were up quite a bit in 2020. They are also up already year to date. I didn't have that number prior to printing this, but we're already at 27,335. And then with an increase in the number of documents recorded, there's also been an increase in the funds transferred into the Land Records Modernization Fund, and that also is up this year. Historically, my office has returned funds to the general account. In 2018, we sent back 32,922. At the end of 19, 34,695. And by the end of 2020, we were sending back 79,667. So more than double years past. Just a quick update on the PIN-driven county. Again, that spreadsheet that we worked on, the three main criteria that especially the general public will search the GIS site by is their property address, their name, or their parcel identification number. That spreadsheet ties the three together. So if you go to the GIS Register of Deeds map and you search by any of those three criteria, it will give you results, with the exception of if it's a new split, so it would be getting a new parcel identification number, or if a property address has not been assigned to it, which usually is vacant land. I was going to give a demonstration on that, but I know that you will all go home and go to that link and put in either your property address and your name or any of the three and see what you come up with. Goals for 2021, we want to continue to utilize our parcel management module. This module allows us to index split records to their new PINs. So currently we are indexing to the old PIN number and all the other stuff that we normally would index to. And then once the tax listing department starts their splits for the year, then we'll go back and index the new PIN number so that when you search the new PIN number on the site, it'll give you those results. We continue to back index records on a daily basis, whether there's 5 minutes in a day or 3 hours. Like I said, our records are already back 60 years or 40 years. My goal is to get back 60 years. And then there are 2 imaging projects that I'm hoping to complete either yet this year or in 2022. And I'm hoping that there's land information funds that we can use for that. So I will still have to move my books when we move into the new building, but they won't have to be quite as accessible. So that's kind of the reasoning behind that. Any questions?
Thank you. You answered my question about having to move the books. I mean, even though you're scanning in, you still gotta.
They're permanent records.
Yeah.
So while we could put them in a basement, we go to a lot of those books daily because the first images that were created are not great from technology. So, you know, constantly going in.
Thank you. Does anyone else have questions for Heather? Thank you. That was a good report, Heather. Thank you. Okay, next we're going to Tyler Technology Software presentation and our Information Systems Coordinator, Barry West, will report on that. You got a hard act to follow, Barry.
All right. Are you guys tired of looking at me yet? I'll go really quick.
No, this, I think you better take your time.
All right. So just a quick synopsis before we get started. Tyler Technologies is a software package that we're looking at going with to replace multiple softwares that we are currently using. Just to get right into it, if this guy works.
You know,
Pointer. All right. All right. Currently, our payroll process is very cumbersome and it's long and very time consuming. These are current problems that we have going on that we're just wanting to point out. We currently use 3 different software packages as part of our payroll. There's multiple steps, importing, exporting, as well as duplicate entry, because you have to enter it in one system and then another system and then another system to get everything moving the way it is, which in turn makes everything very, I think it's working now, maybe. And along with that, our DHS, our Human Services Department, uses a program called Visual Wppa, which is very old and antiquated. It does not have a very good support with it at this point. We have a very little support. If small things happen within that program, it can get fixed. However, if anything major was to happen in the system, it would pretty much be a loss at that point. And this software is used for gathering information and payments from the state in regards to child care and foster care and those kind of things. So quite a bit of monies that get transacted through that software. In addition to that, finding a replacement for that software, because it is old and antiquated, and as we well know, things that happen at the state, they're not very ahead of anything. So we have to have a software that can associate and talk to the state stuff. So it took a really long time to find something that would be able to do that. I think just the batteries are dying. So as basically we say, the current process is very non-productive and it does waste a lot of time. So the process for determining a solution, we spent nearly 24 months of research, demos, discussion with the finance and human service departments and multiple vendors. This is a project that we've been working on for a while. It was put in motion a couple years ago. The COVID stuff just kind of delayed everything with it, but we didn't stop looking into things. There were multiple discussions with different vendors regarding options for the Wppa program. And being able to take care of that. We had a demonstration with Tyler Technologies with myself, Sarah, and Jessica. And we felt that they had everything that we would need. And after discussion with them and being able to replace the Wppa, they assured us that they would be able to do that. So then we had another demonstration with some key stakeholders from the county. Basically, we had key people from each department. Some departments had multiple people that came and some just had 1 or 2. But we had a demonstration and they had an opportunity to ask questions to the vendor, things that coincide with what we're currently doing with our current software. And they were able to look into that. After the demonstration, we were able to obtain some feedback from those people in regards to the demo and what they saw, and some additional questioning we sent back into Tyler. And we were able to get those answers back from Tyler as well. We had one more meeting just with the stakeholders, the same people that we had been in contact with. We had them all come back in. We also had Donna was in there, and we basically went through everything that was involved and what was going to happen to make the transition to the new software. So some benefits that come with transitioning over to this software. It's going to combine the payroll process into one software, taking away the need for import, export, and multiple softwares. Basically, what will happen is let's say a new hire comes in. when they get hired and the process is followed, they'll enter that person into the system, and then that'll automatically populate to the rest of the system, and there won't be any multiple entries in. So that in itself is going to save just a tons of time and processing. In addition to that, the Wppa software will be able to be replaced, as this will be able to talk to the state and gather the information that we need in order to do that, and it will have 100% support all the time. We'll also be able to integrate multiple programs that we currently have broken down. Out of that, we're going to be replacing 4 programs that we currently use. Those and the 3 that we were talking about for the software, one is financials, one is a human resource program, ADP. The other one is NovaTime, which is our timekeeping software. And then, of course, the Wppa software. So that'll get rid of all 4 of those because they'll be all combined into one. With the opportunity of the COVID money that's just been released, we'll be able to purchase 5 years up front, which will eliminate some of the cost of contract going forward. Will be all paid for. We'll be able to still budget monies, but we won't have to. It won't be such taxable. It won't be hit so hard on the budget every year to come up with those funds, because we can get reimbursed back right away. So we'll be able to actually have some money in the bank and save some funds over that time. In addition, the ACA forms that are currently required for tax reporting, that's all included into the system. So it's a push of a button. All those forms get printed or sent to where they need to go. There's electronic workflows for different kinds of approvals. And then there's also built-in cash receipting and credit card capabilities, so people can come and pay bills and different things here using a credit card. They could also, it'll be set up to be able to go online. So if someone needs to, pay for their taxes or pay for a dog license or any multiple different kinds of things that you can't use credit card for now, they'll be able to do that at any point they want to. So in addition to what I said, it's replacing all 4 of those softwares. It's going to be able to increase our cybersecurity. I'm sure everyone hears that word all the time. Cybersecurity is a big deal. Almost daily, someone gets hacked in by someone clicking on this or that or whatever. So it's going to bring in multiple types of security because it'll be everyone will have to be authenticated and won't be able to just do whatever they want to do. Permissions will be set and whatnot. Currently, and this is probably what everybody really wants to see, currently we are paying $104,044 a year for the multiple different softwares that we have. The purchase of the new software will increase a little bit, $141,326 per year, which is about a $37,000 increase. I know that sounds like a lot, but at the same time, when you look at the efficiency and the increased productivity of cybersecurity, and then the addition of some other asset management, procurement type stuff that we don't currently have, it's not that big of a cost that's involved in the increase. Again, doing that all up front would be able to get reimbursed by the COVID funds, and that would take care of that as well. So the next steps that we have, there's a planned implementation schedule is 12 months to allow plenty of time for transition, plenty of time for testing, and make sure everything is functional and doing what it's supposed to do before we move into a brand new software. So what next is, if we don't move forward now, we potentially lose the option to pay for this with COVID money. The addition of that, if we don't move forward, the payroll process remains very long, complex, and slow. And finally, if we don't move forward, we have the option that we lose the human resources or the human services Wppa software. And again, Ruth will contest to the fact that if we lose that, we lose quite a bit of funds and not really have an option to get that back until we get it replaced. So this is basically the Wppa software in general is what has really stoked this from the beginning, from a couple years ago when we found out that the current software we had wasn't going to be able to do the WSIS functions, and the fact that any support that we had with the WSIS was very little to minute. And so we begin the process of trying to find a replacement. Again, the COVID kind of delayed things more so than it should have, as well as the payroll process and everything in that has pushed this along. That kind of gives a quick synopsis run through. Is there any questions that anyone has that they would like answered? Yes, sir.
Is there any guarantee that after 5 years, this won't be obsolete and we got to start all over again?
Actually, there is. What happens with this software, because it's hosted software, so it lives in their system. At the same time, they issue releases and on a regular basis, and everything is tested and moved forward. So the software is constantly being updated. It doesn't have time to get old because it's continually being updated and renewed and moving forward on a regular basis. There's different releases. There's multiple releases that come out per year. Then they have larger releases that come out on a regular basis as well. Not to mention the support is continual and all the people stay up on the software as it's being updated. Larry, you had a question too?
Yes, did you look at other technology companies?
I did. I went through about 2 or 3 other ones that had potential of being able to do this. One was JD Edwards, which some of the other counties are currently utilizing. I did find out, other than the fact JD Edwards is very expensive, more so than this, but also it is becoming kind of antiquated, and they are in the process of making a lot of changes as well. And the counties that I know of that utilize them are either A, unhappy with them, or B, are looking to move to a different system. And all of the other companies that I checked into didn't have a way to do the WSIS portion of the thing, which is kind of is the main driving force. There's all kinds of softwares out there that can do the payroll, the human resources, and the timekeeping and that kind of stuff. It's the WSIS portion that is the tough one to be able to do. And the fact that they're able to do that is kind of the driving factor with that. Yeah.
How did you come up with the cost of it? Did you put it up for bids or how?
We looked at multiple different vendors. We didn't actually do out a specific bid. After talking to them and finding out what was involved and they would be able to do what we needed them to do, then we had them put a price point together of what it's going to cost to get us switched over. That's where that came from.
They came up with a number.
They came up with a number based on the state of Wisconsin contracts and other entities that they work with on a regular basis.
Is that the way our old software was priced as well? Companies come up with a price, or?
I am not sure with the old software. Usually with the software, usually when purchasing a software, it's going to be based on, most of them have some type of contract with the state in some general area. At the same time, depending on what the software is and what it does, they will, I won't say they set their own price, but they have negotiations that they go with, and they do for multiple places, and it's all based on what you need. The Tyler is very large, so it has multiple different modules and multiple different things that are involved in it. And it's all a pretty standard price across the board as far as that goes. Yes, Robert.
Sounds like if it goes through, where is the support team or technicians, or where are they coming from? Out of state or?
Yeah, right now their headquarters is East Coast, but they have people based all over the country.
So if we have trouble, we're gonna have an expensive bill for travel time and fixing stuff? Or?
Actually, no, if they have to travel, it's like implementation travel is included in the initial setup and implementation. Any other stuff is mostly done remotely, and that's all included in the regular support charge. if something had to be traveled, then that would be something that we'd look into. But I would say 99% of the time it's going to be able to be remotely worked on, and somebody wouldn't have to physically be here. The benefits of having the servers housed in their facilities, and it's all done across the web, so we wouldn't have to, it's very secure, and then we don't have the hardware cost, the server cost, the software cost here to maintain that. It's all maintained out there.
Here.
Yeah, Larry?
Are there other area counties that use this system?
There is. If you hit the next slide there, they gave me a list of all the counties and cities in Wisconsin that currently use the system. I know that there's multiple across the country as well. I'm a member of a NACO IT group that I sent out some information. I did a lot of research to those guys, and there's a lot of counties and entities across the country that utilize maybe not to the extent that we want to, but they definitely utilize this system, and it serves them very well. Any other questions? Yep.
Yeah, thank you very much, Barry. All right, next for discussion and possible motion action items, confirmation of Planning and Zoning Committee's denial of zone change for Olson's Farms LLC, Town of Aurora. We have a motion by Supervisor Waito.
Motion to approve the denial.
Thank you. We have a second. Okay, second by Mr. King. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, Larry.
There was a postal receipt, a copy of a postal receipt in the Katie. I had never heard of that person, and I don't know what her relationship. Oh, just to let the town know. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Voice vote. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This has been approved. Next, we have structure of non-union wage scale, recommended fix.
So I sent all of you a packet in the mail that had a couple of different spreadsheets in it. This particular item deals with document number 1 that I sent you. So the hiring and recruitment work team had been getting together, looking to see why we were having problems filling some positions and why we weren't getting people to come even apply for us. And so we started looking at, and 2 years ago, we had done a project with Oshkosh where we had gotten some wage information, and then that kind of got stale and didn't really get followed through on. So we started the process over and got all of the information from all of our surrounding counties and looked at it. And what it looked like was that our scale was a lot shorter than some of the other counties. We had a 6-step scale in the non-union, and their other counties went out more steps. You had more opportunities for increases on a regular basis. We also talked to Michelle and Liz about some of the problems that they had when trying to explain wage scales to people who were applying, or even current employees not understanding how it happened. And my brain doesn't work quite as well as it did when I started here 23 years ago, but back then, we had an even different wage scale. And for those of you that were around at that time, you'll remember that we had it was like a 6-month thing, and then you'd get a raise at a year, and you get a raise at like 18 months, and it kind of was all over the board as to what the raises were. And we did a big wage study with Carlson Detman at that time, and revamped the whole thing. And then we did a secondary one about 10 years ago with Wppa, and have not really updated our wage scale since then. So what we were finding when we were looking at the wage scale is that the percentage of increase between the steps was not consistent. Some steps it was 2%, some steps it was 1%, some steps it was 3%. It was kind of all over the board. My best guess, without having notes from when those original scales were done, so those were the scales that were probably done with Carlson, which was probably 15 years ago, maybe a little longer, is that we took what we had, which was like the start 6-month year, and we just moved them to steps. And of course, the percentages were different because there was not a whole year in between the raises at the beginning. And I think we just put them into steps and didn't really change that. And then when you're going up and down the chart in between the classes, there was an odd variety of percentages in between the classes. And so if you looked at it and you said, well, you are in this class and it was hard to explain how you got to the numbers. So the fix that I'm recommending after all of this work is that we go from a 6-step scale to a 10-step scale. I'm requesting that the merit range be eliminated. A few years ago, you'll remember we put a merit range on there. The thought is that as we did annual performance reviews, if we had star employees, they would get a little bit more than the cost of living increase that the board set. It's really never been applied. It doesn't work well in government. Everybody on the task force thinks that we should just get rid of it. A lot of counties don't have that. So this fix is to go to 10 steps from 6. There are 3% increase between steps 1 through 6, and then a 2% increase between steps 7 through 10. And then each of the levels in between is 7.5% increase in between each of the levels. So this is just to bring our scale into something that's more understandable and a little bit more competitive with our neighbors. In the packet, when you looked at it, I had in there a column that showed the maxes of what our neighboring counties have in their wage scales. Now, all of them reach their max at a different point, but what we wanted to do was to be at the 10-year, be close to what our merit range was and closer to what their maxes were, so that we were more competitive. And so that's how this scale kind of brought up with the 3% and the 2%. And so that's step 1 of this, is to try to fix this scale to make it more understandable and more competitive with our surrounding neighbors. This does not increase the wages other than the minor fixes and the percentages in between the steps. So this is not the wage increase that we'll talk about later in the agenda for 2022. This is just to fix our scale.
Questions? Okay. Thank you, Ruth.
I need you to do a motion, either to approve or deny.
Mhm. All right, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Lauer. Could you please state your motion?
Make motion approved.
Do we have a second? Second by Wado. Okay, this will be a roll call vote. Can you share with us who is on the committee?
So on the task force is Debbie Pavla, Patty Wolfile, Brian Donaldson, Bill Rosenau, Heather Schwarzenska, myself. I think that's the main committee. Oh, and Wally. And then when we got to the point where we were meeting with all the departments and going through all of the different information, then Todd Waller and Kim Stebbins also helped us with some of those extra meetings. And then we pulled all the data together, and then we met with Michelle and Liz to go over the issues that they were having. And Sarah's been a big part of it because she tells me when I'm out of control in my spending.
Which is most of the time.
Well, at home, but I really try to be good here.
We have two that have not voted. Mike and Larry.
I think we should have asked for discussion.
I
before
did.
you ask for a vote,
I asked if anyone had any questions or any comments.
not that I heard.
Do you have a question, Larry, that I can answer?
Ask for it anyway.
Sorry, I thought I did. All right. We have 9 ayes, no nays, 1 abstain, and 1 absent. So this has passed by majority vote. Thank you. Next, we have the non-union, let me start over, non-union 2022 wage increase.
So this one is a little bit more difficult. This would have been document 3 in your packet that I sent out. I had lots of discussions with Sarah about this. As you know, the EMS union contract is already set in place. They're scheduled to get a 4.5% increase in January and another 0.5% increase in July. The elected officials' wages are set, and I tried to look back to see what we had increased them by for these years, but I don't remember. Those groups, along with the sheriff's department, the EMS group did not get a wage increase in 2021 as part of our negotiations. And the elected officials and the sheriff's department did get increases in both of those times. The non-union also did not get a wage increase in 2021. However, with all of the different projects that we're doing and all of the different programs that we are still doing, and the amount of employees that we have, and what our income targets are, in talking to Sarah, I am recommending that the non-union people get a 2.5% increase in 2021. So it is less than what some of the other people are getting, but I think that this is what you can afford without having to worry too much about our levy limits or anything, or having to cut any programs or lay any people off.
I was hoping we could give them more since they didn't get a raise last year, but that just wasn't possible. So now, is there any discussion? I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Mr. King. Mr. King, would you like to state your motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a second by Mr. Jarvis. Now, do you have any questions or comments concerning this motion? Yes, Bob.
Just one quick one, I guess, for Ruth. How do we compare in the scheme of things like with Marquette, Adams, Winnebago, Wppa? Are we anywhere close, or are we way out of line yet, or?
We're getting closer. My understanding is that Adams County just gave a bunch of large raises, and Marquette County is contemplating larger raises than what we have. I frankly don't know where they're getting their money from. Between this and the fix of the wage scale, and then there's a couple reclassifications on jobs that were way behind in other counties that is coming up later in the agenda. I think that we're getting closer, and I think that this is the best we can do for 2021, and hopefully we'll be able to make up some more ground, or 2022, and hopefully we'll be able to make up some more ground in 2023.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Everett?
Oh, I'm sorry, Everett, go for it.
I've been getting some feedback from some of the employees that aren't getting either the raises or they're staying way, way, way behind compared. Just maybe I don't understand it as well as I should. They don't understand it, but I don't want to pass this now and then have to regroup and try to catch up with some of them. And I don't want to lose them either.
I understand what you're saying, Everett, and there were a lot of people who wanted reclasses, and it was a tough decision to make on which ones should be and which ones shouldn't be. And we looked at the surrounding counties, and are there some that were on the bubble? Yep. This is what we can afford right now. We need to make a decision tonight, one way or another, because we have to get the wage sheets out to start the budget process. I know that there are people who are not happy with me, and I understand that. This is the best that I can do right at this particular moment.
I want to add something. I don't want to detract from all the work that you folks did. This was a tough job, and I know you did the best you could. I don't want any detract from that, but just thought I had to bring it up.
Yep, no, I appreciate it. I know there are several people, probably even people in this audience who are not quite happy with me or with the process, but we will continue to work on it to make it better.
Thank you.
Larry, do you have a question? No? All right. We have a motion by Mr. King, a second by Mr. Jarvis. And now we will do our roll call vote. All right, this is passed by a majority vote. Thank you very much. Next, we have the 2022-2023 tentative agreements with WPPA Sheriff's Department Union.
So that was enclosed in your packet. You'll see it was a long list of changes. The majority of the changes are to bring our contracts into compliance with new federal regulations since the last time that we had entered into a contract with them. There was a case law that came out that indicated that union contracts and things like that needed to be gender neutral. And so a lot of the changes are taking out the gender specific pronouns and making them more gender neutral so that we are not offending anybody. It is only a 2-year contract. Usually I like to do 3-year contracts because I'm not a big fan of negotiating. But I met with the Sheriff's Department and I'm not comfortable doing more than a 2-year contract because I just don't know what the economy is going to do. Waushara County did very good in COVID. You know, like they talked a lot about there being a lot of unemployed people and people who, you know, that the economy was going to suffer from COVID. We benefited by the fact that a lot of our lake people came up at the beginning of COVID and stayed the entire time. And so that little tiny bathroom that was okay for a weekend here and there was no longer okay if I was living here permanently. And so our building permits went up and we had a big increase in our assessed value last year. We're hoping for a big increase this year so that we can help do this. We have the bonding project going on. We have, you know, we have some new employees that we want to add. And so just on all of the unknowns and the fact that you're going to be hiring a new administrator, that I didn't want to tie their hands for future budgets too long. The union and I agreed that we would only do a 2-year contract. Their first year of their contract, I can't really tell you what the percentage increase is. It's somewhere a little bit more than the 2.5% that the non-union is getting, but it's not as much as the EMS is getting. And it's different because they wanted some changes in their scale. So we adjusted their scale a little bit and kind of redid where people fall on that. What we were finding in the last contract that we did with the Sheriff's Department, we were kind of behind other counties on our start. So we weren't getting people to apply for us because we weren't starting off as much. So we fixed that in the last contract. And now what we're finding is that we're falling further behind in the longer term employees. So in this contract, the longer term employees got a little bit more in the first year of the contract to try to make up for it. And then they did agree to a 2.5% for the second year. So I talked to Sarah. I think it's something that is doable. The other changes were to add some language that we had inside agreements, just to add them into the contract so that they were all in one document, but no major changes with the Sheriff's Department. I have to say that I was very pleased with their with them this year in negotiations. They came in looking to get some fix and some relief in some wages. They agreed to take our ETO. So now sick leave is gone from the county as of January, which is good for us because many, many years ago, you'll remember that the accounting standards changed and sick leave had to be fully funded. And so it was always on your sheet, and that always impacted our tax levy dollars, whereas the ETO is accounted for a different way, so it doesn't have to be fully funded. So they went to our ETO, they went to our short-term disability. We are totally, getting our benefit packages all in line, so it's easier to administer. We're streamlining things. They didn't want to do it, but they were receptive to talk about it, and we came to an agreement. And I think that this is a good agreement for both the county and the union, and I'm asking you to approve it.
We have a motion. Motion by Mr. King. Do we have a second?
You want me to state?
Oh,
Motion
yes,
to
I'm sorry.
approve.
Please state your motion.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Pat, for reminding me. Second by Mr. Cap. Now, do you have any questions or comments concerning the agreement? Hearing none, we will do a roll call vote. You want to amend it,
No.
Mike? No?
No, I tried to get it out of there.
Okay.
I'm buried in it.
All right. Okay, now we vote. Okay. Or Mike.
Yeah, and Mike's reading for this now that it wasn't happening.
Okay.
It's not.
There we go. Okay, we have 10 ayes, 0 nays, and 0 abstentions. So the motion passes by majority vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we are going to discuss rescinding the telecommuting policy. Okay, and I guess I probably started all this because I felt that it was time for people to come back to work. I've talked to people in other counties and they are all back to work. So I'd like to know your opinions on that, if you have any. Pat, I know you do.
What's that?
You have an opinion on this, I believe.
Well, I think there's no reason why they shouldn't be back to work. If you have any fears, you ought to get vaccinated. Simple as that.
I know, when I think about it, we are a service. I mean, we provide service to our constituents, and I think it's important to be here to do that. I know Pat was concerned about COVID, but he showed up for every shift at the grocery store. And Our sheriff's department was not allowed to, I mean, they can't stay home. EMS can't stay home. Highways, we have, a lot of people working for Waushara County that were not working from home. They were here when they were supposed to be, and I just think it's time for everyone else to come back. I've talked to chairs from a lot of other surrounding counties, and they are back to work. So that's. Does anyone else have any comments?
I think they should come back to work also. I think it's time. It was a good thing during the COVID, but not
Mhm.
now.
Okay. Sure.
This is totally a county board policy and this is totally up to you. But I just wanted to point out a couple of things. This policy had nothing to do with COVID, okay? This policy was something that was part of our looking at how we can better recruit and retain employees. And COVID, and if another COVID comes, we're still going to send people home and we're still going to work from home, whether there's a policy or not. That was a public health decision. That was a recommendation from the public health department. What this policy was meant to do was to provide some flexibility. And yes, it does not work in every department, but in some departments, it works where you can have people working from home. There are other counties who do have some people working from home. So it's not closing the office. It's not having people not here. It was to provide some flexibility so that if it worked in a department, that you could have people working from home, that maybe it would be another tool in the manager's pocket to help retain some of our employees that we were losing to other counties. It is not an employee right. It has to be approved by management. Management has to keep an eye on it, make sure that they're working. There has to be ways that you can do it. There's a written agreement on how it's going to be enforced. There's still going to be times if somebody is sick or they have a sick child, but they shouldn't be here, but they can work from home, that they're probably still going to work from home on a irregular basis, just because that keeps things flowing. But this policy itself was not related to COVID. If you don't want people telecommuting at the county, completely your position. But I wanted you to know that this policy did not come about because of COVID.
How many people now that in the county are still working from home?
So economic support at Human Services has a rotating schedule where they work 2 days at home and then the rest of the days they're here in the county. They do call center work. It's all on the computer and on the phone. We're in a consortium. So that call center is covered by 7, how many counties, Greg? 9 counties in our consortium. And so you take the calls, you enter the information. So they have people still working from home. I think public health still. So health is using it as an interim thing. Registered of Deeds used it as a project-based thing. As you all know, if you are here in the office, I had to quarantine 1 day before I had my colonoscopy. I can't tell you how much work I got done because my phone wasn't ringing off the hook when I was at home on my computer versus in my office. So this is not really even meant to cover those situations. It certainly can be done that way with the departments. So not many people are using it. It's more as a tool that can be used in the future if need be to try to keep some staff that we don't want to lose.
We would still need this policy to cover that for the future, if there's issues in the future then.
If there's another pandemic, no, we don't need the policy because public health is going to issue an order. I don't think you need the policy to do like a day here and a day there. I think that can be approved by the manager based upon the circumstances. you would need this policy if you were going to do something like what economic support currently is, where it's a set number of days a week to do it. Then it's something that, you know, and it doesn't work for every department. It doesn't work for my department. My department is on state-owned computers. They all have dual monitors and a hard drive, and the state said, if you're going to work from home, you're taking our system with you, and no, we're not buying you laptops. So it doesn't work for my department. So it doesn't work for some departments. I don't know what the future holds. Work-life balance is changing among people. The working culture is changing. It might save some space in the new building depending on how it is able to be applied. I don't really know. It's a tool. It's a new tool. That's what you would need it for, is to have that flexibility to do something on a more regular basis, not to deal with the pandemic or to deal with these little intermittent things. But if you want everybody to come to work every single day as the norm, which it always had been in the past, then you don't need the policy.
Was the intent of rescinding this to get people to come back from COVID?
To get people back in the courthouse, period.
But because of them being gone because of the COVID pandemic? Because they weren't, it sounds like if people need to be in the office, they're in the office. Is that correct?
I think that Human Services started looking at this issue before the pandemic, and then got some policies from some other areas, and that's how the policy started. It did get more widely spread during COVID, but yeah, without this policy, the economic support workers would be here every day, and everybody that's, you know, in an office space would be here every day, except for the occasional intermittent thing that would be approved by a department.
Well, and it really, you won't save space in the new building because you'll have to have those offices in case this changes. You know, this board might vote one way and then the next board might say, no, we want, you know, so you would have to have those offices in the new building no matter what. Yes, Larry.
Greg, I'd like to speak in favor of it. Please.
Yes.
Ruth is correct. We did start this telecommuting policy before the pandemic. It was maybe a year before that we started working on this policy, because there are other counties that use this, and it is specifically for that economic support team. It's not for, just as Chair Collada said, social workers have to be in the field to serve, like a law enforcement officer. The people that provide service generally are doing that face-to-face in human services. So economic support, there's 6 people that are in the call center, they're on the computer, and you can tell everything they're doing from a command center as a manager. So a lot of the counties around, well, some of the bigger counties around the state are using this 3 days out, 2 days in. If they're staffing, you have to come in. And so there's always somebody in the office. So if there was a walk-in, generally everything is done online, but if there was a walk-in, somebody is always in the office. So that's where this whole thing started. And so that we put policies, procedures, so that it wasn't just people coming and going. There's a structure to it. You had to be here for 18 months. You had to be in good standing. You had to be well-trained. And so that's how this all started. So when COVID hit, so this was ready to come to you folks in February, right before COVID. So it stalled. So then I started talking to Mr. Civic at the time that maybe as we have people out because of the pandemic, that this policy would put structure to people being home. It would put policies, procedures. They would have to agree to certain things. Barry West had set up the department like very quickly for people who were under a quarantine. And so I don't know, I could get you the numbers of how many people actually were sent home or had COVID, but I would say at least 40% of people were quarantined at some level, that their kid or somebody that they were exposed to, somebody that in therapy, a probation officer. So they were working at home. They were sent home by public health. But fortunately, they were able to work. And we had a great year in human services, in working collections. So we know that people were working at home. So going forward after that, to have in place this policy for economic support, we're talking about 6 people there that have that agreement. So there's roughly 65 people in human services. So we have 6 in economic support that would use it regularly for what it's intended to. And then we also have 2 people in the financial team that use it once a week. And we have 3 people that have signed up for it, even though Ruth is correct. They're more project-based, that they would use it for that. But it's more of a couple times a month is what they're looking for. So I would say 11 people have the agreement in place. 6 people is really who this is going to affect the most in my mind, because we're talking about 3 days out, 2 days out that's scheduled. People that have big projects, kind of like what you were talking about earlier, that these big projects that you take home and you're going to bust on them for about 2 days or so, clear the table, the phone, and you can get them done. That's not, we're not going to need a policy for that. So that's something we're just trying to get done in the moment, in the month. So to your point, in human services, economic support is for us, who this was the target of: social workers, people that are serving, reception, managers. This just doesn't work for. So it's a small population. And so what I was hoping is that as a recruitment and retention, the counties around us that aren't able to do this, are we going to be able to get some of their economic support workers and keep them? Because that has been a high turnover area in human services historically. And I want to say I probably sent that policy out to 7 directors in our region, because they're wondering, hey, what do you got there? How are you going to do this going forward? Because they sent their people home. We didn't. And so they're struggling, just like you said, to get their people back in the office. And they're trying to say, hey, you need to be back by. And they're like, well, why do I need to be back in the office? So there are counties that are struggling, but it's not us, because we are in the office. We were in the office unless we were quarantined by public health. I think that's what I have. Is there any questions on any of that?
So would it be possible to bring this back just for economic support? I mean, really, realistically, do your financial people really have to work from home?
Have to is a big word. And I
Two
think
big words.
it's 2 big words. And so this hiring, retention, onboarding, recruitment committee that we talked even though Ruth excluded me on the committee,
I saw, I
was heartbroken out there. But one of those things, again, it's that recruitment retention. It's one of those small tools. And we have somebody on our economic support team. So she's one of them. She doesn't telework at all. She doesn't telecommute. She doesn't want to. So actually it's 5 people in that unit that does that. For me, human services, I know my needs. I don't know the needs of the whole county. We have 65 people. There's roughly 300 staff members. I don't know all the ins and outs of what people could use this for. And if it was a tool for somebody to retain, recruit skilled quality staff, I wouldn't want to take that away. And again, it doesn't fit for everybody. It has to be a very small select group that this actually works for, because it doesn't work for EMS, law enforcement, social workers. Ruth talked about the court system. So how many people this really affects and the opportunity this provides, I'm not sure. But for my own purposes, I hate to be selfish, because I like to look at this as a county. And that's really when I started talking about this telecommuting policy. I know what my needs were, but I thought, well, if it's good for human services on a select basis for 5 people, what about the other 250? Where are the other niches that it could work great for, and that we could recruit savvy veterans? I mean, I think that's really what we're talking about here. So I think that's.
So I ask you again, could it be brought back just for economic support?
That's up to the board, whatever the board would like to do.
I have another question. I guess I'm wondering why we're rescinding this, because it sounds like, I mean, I could see we rescind it if people are abusing it, but it doesn't sound like people are abusing the policy from what I'm hearing, unless I just don't know if we have the information. I don't know if other places that people just aren't coming to work. But I'm hearing that they are.
You know, there's going to be somebody that abuses this policy somewhere
Mhm.
in the future. It's going to happen, no matter what system you have, time card, you name it, or if they're working at their desk, not doing quality work. Somebody is going to abuse the system somewhere. So I think I talked about early in the presentation, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, that this could be a great tool for us, but there's going to be somebody that tries to screw it up for the rest of us, and I sure hope they don't. It could apply to, I guess, down to your question, I don't know the other systems, who it applies to well, and that would probably be a good question for the other department heads to come to this group and say, these are I know I have 5 that use it, but there could be a 6th in the future. How many people in the county are actually using this policy in this manner, I think would be a good question. And how does that help you recruit and retain staff? I think would be a good question to ask them and bring back to you. That's something maybe at our next department heads, we talk about that, so you guys have that information. I guess I would hate to answer for my other department heads that sure, it works great for human services, cut them out, and then I'm going to get the stink eye in department head meetings.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you all.
One thing I would say is, I guess what John said, I mean, is there just 5 people in the county that haven't come back to work in the building?
Everyone in my department is back to work except for this economic support that's rotating these days. And actually, like I said, there's 5 people actually, because the one doesn't use it.
Right.
So I don't know who's not in the office. I don't telework. The managers, we don't telework. Social workers, they don't telework unless they've been on quarantine. So I can't speak to that with 300 staff wide of how many people are. I would assume people are doing their jobs and back to work. I really don't know how many are teleworking. Would you like that information maybe to find out how many actually are?
We could postpone this and then get more information.
Does it need to be tabled or?
Yes.
Postponed, I
Oh,
think. Postponed, right, Ruth?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Then if you want to postpone that, we'll need to do that in a motion.
I would make that motion.
Motion
No.
by Jarvis.
There we go. Sorry.
Yeah. Do we have a second? Second?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Jarvis, second by Mr. Eckstein to postpone this to the next meeting, assuming that you can get the information by the next meeting. Can you do that, Greg? Okay, thank you very much. All right, we will do a voice vote on this. All in favor of postponing resending the telecommunication process or policy, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
The ayes have it. This will be postponed till next meeting. Okay, next we have the 2022 budget guidelines.
So we just did wages. So what are your guidelines for the last as many years as I can remember? It's been departments should try to come in as close to 0 other than wages and benefits. Is that what we're still looking at? That's what Sarah would like me to have you recommend, that we do the best that we can to try to bring it in as close as we can to last year without any new substantial increases would need to be explained. And of course, would all have to fit into the whole package that would then be approved by the county board. But is there anything specific that you have?
Okay, and what we're saying is a 0 increase except for wages and benefits.
Right. So our health insurance a quote is not in yet. They are saying that it's going to be They are thinking it'll be somewhere between 4 and 7%. We are putting health insurance out to bid because it hasn't been out to bid for a few years. We are waiting to hear back. We're putting our short-term disability out to bid, and we haven't heard anything from retirement on whether that's going to increase. So those are still kind of up in the air about the unknowns. We now know the increases for the wages. So yeah, I guess if you have anything other than wages and benefits that you want to talk about, that your guidelines are.
Larry.
Seems like we're adding a lot of people to the payroll. County, I'm wondering how many is it? About
How much money?
how many people?
Oh, one in IT, administration.
And the administration one would be the payroll.
Yes.
Person.
One in buildings and grounds. And the buildings and grounds one is to be relooked at after we're into the new building.
Also, we have courts.
Oh, and we have 2 in courts to accommodate the second judge that's coming on board next year. So 5 new people.
And in Missy's department, she has been down.
She's been down one for 2+ years.
Why should you when the rest of us don't?
So apparently she's had a position open for 9 years, not 2. I don't know where my time has gone.
I don't either.
But there's 2 additional people that would be to meet the needs of having the second court. One is going to start as soon as we can find someone. We can't even find someone to fill the position that's been open for 9 years. Part of our recruiting and retaining problem. And they were going to start doing some of the back scanning so that we can try to limit the amount of hard copy storage space that we need. And then the other person won't start actually until August of next year after when the second judge takes office. Because that person, the second judge will actually hire that person as their judicial assistant. And so the election happens in April, they take office in August. And so that person will only be here for part of a year next year.
And we really don't have a choice in this. If we want a second judge, we have to provide the support staff for that judge.
Well, the state gave you a judge based upon your agreement that you would find a room for
Yes.
them and staff for them.
Exactly. So like I said, we don't have a choice in that. We
Right.
have
The
to-
other ones are still on the agenda for later tonight, so you can cut them, but 5 positions total. Yep.
All right, do we have a recommendation for the budget guidelines for 2022?
Okay, well, I'll make it work.
Okay.
Sarah and I will make it work.
Thank you, Ruth. Okay, consideration and possible action on the following resolutions and ordinances. Resolution number 31-06-21, a resolution awarding the sale of 17 million general obligation promissory notes, Series 2021A. And Jeff is with us tonight. If you could, has some good news.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Ruth, that was outstanding, by the way. All right, you have before you a resolution for $17 million in promissory notes. When I was here last month, we kind of went through a scenario of how this was going to work. Since that time, we secured an excellent rating. Certainly want to thank administration, Ruth, Sarah, Megan, for the fine help that they gave in terms of the interviews that needed to be completed and submission of demographic data, etc. The existing debt service of the county is a AA minus. That's been reestablished and reaffirmed by Standard & Poor's. And this new debt issuance of 17 million also has garnered a AA minus with a stable outlook. That's an excellent rating for a county your size. It'd be an excellent rating for a lot of cities in this state. They issue Standard & Poor's issues a rating report. I think Megan or certainly Sarah, someone might have it. I don't know if it's already on your website, but it's certainly something I think the county board members should take a look at and read. Some really nice stuff in here in terms of credit quality of this county, and it'll give you an idea what's important. And from your standpoint and the decisions that you make going forward with respect to your budget, it'll be important, obviously, to try to maintain that rating and possibly improve it. But again, take a look at your ratings report. I think it's beneficial to any county board member or any department head that they in fact get an idea as to what goes into a credit rating. You're looking at basically the synopsis of what's gone into the resolution. You had in your packets or available to you a draft resolution which didn't have the numbers in it. That wasn't because we were trying to keep the numbers from you. We didn't know what the numbers were till about 11 o'clock this morning. In this business, when you're out soliciting quotes from investors, they're hesitant to keep their quote for more than 24 hours. Markets change. They change on a daily basis. They certainly change throughout the day at times. So it's just typical that we go out into the market ahead of time to introduce your credit to the buying public. So we've done that over a period of days, last week and yesterday, particularly yesterday. Most of the day I spent with underwriters and salespeople, just talking about the credit, answering questions that the potential buyers had, because today we set what is called an order period for those people to come back and place an order for some of the 17 million. I'm happy to tell you we got to an underwriting at 11 o'clock. I'd certainly be happy to tell you also, not so happy, but there's $5.8 million available for anybody who might want to buy some. So if you want to get your checkbook out and buy some, let us know. We still got exposure for about 5.8 million. But we're underwriters and we commit to that 5.8 million along with the others that have been committed by other investors. So you're going to get tonight, if you adopt the resolution, you're going to lock into these prices or these yields that you see up on top. As I said, we're issuing 17 million in par amount, but we're actually paying $17,662,951 to the county. That differential is called a premium. It's a net premium. $662,951. It's something that I didn't anticipate way back when we started looking at a $63 million impact for your tax levy. Make some assumptions that we were going to sell everything at par. You were just going to pay a straight interest rate. And I had to calculate what that debt service over time would be to get into that 91 cent gross rate that we talked about. Remember, we've got about 44 cents of existing debt, and to do the additional 63 million over time, we're going to bump that up one time to 90 to 91 cents. Megan, Ruth, you could probably put 89 cents in. So we're under the 91 for sure. I'm confident now. I'll be confident after I hear the vote. But this is the first 17 million laid in on the front end, and you can see the yields. They were sold at 20 basis points in 2022, and they go out the scale to 2031. That 10th maturity sold to a yield of 1.39%. Last week, the city of Oshkosh, which I think most of us are familiar with, it's not too far away. Last week, they sold an issue. They also have a Moody's rating, but it's analogous to our AA minus. This is a AA3. It's the same, it carries the same weight in the investment market as a Standard & Poor's AA minus. So you're looking at a comparable credit. Right? It was done last week. They had 15 basis points in the first maturity and 1.40% or 140 basis points in the final maturity.
but you can make some comparison there if you'd like. And they're making their payments on 6/1 exactly like we are making our payments on 6/1 of each year. When you take into account paying all expenses, rating, legal opinion, sales, everything, your money, this issue is costing you a true, what we term a true interest cost, a TIC of 1.40%. I'll say that again, 1.40%. Anybody here finance anything lately that's close to that? Me either.
That's awesome.
Certainly, yeah, I was very happy with that. I think I said something last month that we'd be under 2.
Mhm.
I didn't want to get, I was hoping we'd be under 1.5, but a month goes by and a lot of things can change in the interest rate world. So very happy to tell you that if you lock in tonight, you have a total gross true interest cost of 1.0%, 1.40%. Questions?
It's a good reason to lock in tonight.
Anyway. Well, since we're spending some money, Donna, I think we probably need to get some now. As I said before, this was what I termed to be opportune for the first of the 3 borrowings that I envisioned for you for this full 63 million. This makes it a lot easier to deliver on that 91 cents from now through the end of the 25-year period. And I had mentioned to Donna, we had bumped into each other on the way in out in the parking lot. And one of the things you haven't seen is when I did the $63 million schedule, and I had to assume we did it all at one time over 25 years, because I had to back into that 91 cents, what ended up being 91 cents. We were only able to pay off $305,000 of par amount of capital in the first year's payment. It's much like your mortgage. For those of us who have had 30-year mortgages, you look at the first payment in that first year and we paid all interest, most of 99% of it interest and 1% of it's the principal. I altered our schedule. You're going to pay off $2 million of this project in the first year. Significant. If you understand that, if that were your last year and it's garnering interest through the full 25, you can get an idea as to what that cost by being able to, or what we've saved by being able to accelerate that. That premium that we talked about, the $662,000, that has to be used for interest payment. So when we levy in your budget this year 91 cents or 89 cents for debt next year, we don't have to pay an extra 662 out of that 91 because we already have it. So we're going to pay principal instead. You follow me? We're going to pay principal now because of that premium. And we're going to pay principal because we aren't paying interest right now on the balance of that 63 million because it's not in place yet. It shows 17 million for a number of reasons. It gets to a point next year where we're going to probably need some more money, but no sense in borrowing too much because I don't want you to pay interest during the time you're not using it. We'll be able to react to the market, but I think we're going to be absolutely fine in terms of that second set of things that we need. Roughly, I think, $28 million next April or May.
That's good. Do you have questions for Jeff? Thank you so much for all the work you're doing for the county. We appreciate it.
Oh, it's done. It's fun. You got a great staff. I really do. It's fun. And I got 40 years, a little over 40 years. I spent more time yesterday on this issue than maybe my first year in the business, because I just wanted it to be, and I went over and over it and worked with the underwriters and said, no, we can't do this. And I need to have different couponing. And no, it's too much interest from the front end. You have to change this. And you got to go back to the investors and tell them, no, I can't sell them. People are saying, well, you're paying 2% coupons on these. The coupon and the yields that you're seeing as a differential creates that premium. Okay, so the buyers want to pay more money than the face value of the bond they're buying. I'll say that to you again. For every $5,000 they're buying, some of these guys paid 112%. They wanted to pay more. My underwriters first ran it, there were $2 million in premiums. I said, hey, that'd be great. But the IRS in the state of Wisconsin says you can only have it for the first 2 years of your interest payments. That's a little over $670,000 or just under 650,000. Sorry. So that's all we could do. Believe it or not, that tells you something. If people are willing to buy coupon protection, scared that interest, they're doing that. It's telling you count. I got an issue next week, which is a refunding, which can be handled differently. And my underwriter was teasing. He said, Jeff, I think I can sell 6% coupons. Right, I can use that premium because then I can pay down the par on it. So 5 bricks and more. Anyway, it was a lot of fun, Donna, and I thank you so much, and I thank your staff, and you know. Anyway, you've got a young, wonderful staff, and they've been fun to work with. They really have.
Thank you. They're very good to work with. Appreciate that.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
You. Okay, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Eckstein. Would you like to state your motion? Okay. His motion is to approve. Second by Kirschner. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or comments concerning this resolution? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. You have to vote on the machine, on your tablets. Sorry. Okay. Thought I was going to get away with it, Ruth.
This one's dead.
Lost power?
Says no, I'm dead.
Who lost power?
$30 minutes left.
Yeah. It's my cat that didn't vote.
And she can do it manually.
All right, everyone has voted. And this has passed unanimously with 10 ayes, 0 nays, and no abstentions. So we have passed. Thank you very much. Next, we have resolution number 32-06-21, amending the Articles of Organization and the Bylaws v. Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. And we are fortunate to have Melissa Kramer-Badke here from the new Executive Director of East Central Planning, and she will do a presentation for us.
Good evening, everyone. As the chair has mentioned, my name is Melissa Kramer-Badke. I'm the new executive director at East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. I've been with the Planning Commission for over 18 years, primarily working in transportation, safe routes to school, corridor studies, and bicycle pedestrian trail activities. So just a couple of things that we've been working on with Waushara County that I just wanted to mention before we get into the resolution. We have been working with public health on the Safe Routes to School Action Plan update and had updated and worked with Waushara School District, Wild Rose, and Tri-County. Both of those, all of those schools have participated in Walk to School Day and Bike to School Day and have utilized and worked with their public health nurses. We're also in the process of updating existing land use for Waushara County, which is utilized by your planning department, and are hoping to have that complete here over the summer. So those are a couple of the bigger projects. And then we are beginning to work on a sewer service area plan update for the Waushara Silver Lake area, and that will be beginning shortly, probably within the next few months. So note that that'll be coming forward as well. Just a couple things in terms of the commission as a whole. Last year, we had a reorganization plan that was adopted by the commission board. At that time, we discussed a number of things with our steering committee regarding reorganizing the commission to ensure that we're working on core program areas such as transportation, economic development, sewer service area or water quality management program, and regional comprehensive planning. So those are our core program areas that we're going to be focusing on for the upcoming 3 to 5 years. In addition to that, we also looked at the levy. So Waushara County is a member of the commission. We have 8 member counties that pay a tax levy into our organization. We looked at reducing that levy for all of our member counties over the next 3 years in a way that allows us to do that in a step process over those 3 years. The remainder of those funds will be utilized to leverage in state and federal dollars for transportation programming, economic development, and our sewer service area, along with updating our regional comprehensive plan. And we're also will be working with some of our local communities on comprehensive plan updates and open space recreation plans. Included in that reorganization plan was to look at restarting our strategic plan. So that now aligns with our reorganization plan and our work program and budget annually. Recently, we kicked off our regional comprehensive plan update. The plan had last been updated in 2008, and those plans need to be updated every 10 years. So we are working through the public participation plan process and developing materials for that, doing some background information by looking at each of the member counties' comprehensive plan, identifying regional trends, regional challenges, and regional opportunities for us to be working across boundaries. It's anticipated that the completion date will be December of 2022 for that particular plan. We're also working on revising pieces of our budget and work program, so aligning our staffing needs with those core program areas. And we begin working on our 2022 budget and work program for the upcoming year. We've already met with Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration on budget numbers that we anticipate for that transportation work program. And then we have a 3-year partnership planning grant with the Economic Development Administration. And so we're in year 2 of that, and we have dollars already allocated. We also have some CARES Act funding that we'll be utilizing, and then be working with DNR to secure funding for our water quality management program. So before you tonight is a resolution regarding our commission board composition. As part of that reorganization plan, the steering committee and the commission board look to revise and change our board composition. Currently, we have 36 commissioners. 2 of those commissioners are ex officio members. One is the Valley Transit Manager, Ronald McDonald, and the second ex officio member is Jill Michelson, who is a DOT Northeast Region representative out of their Green Bay office. Those 2 individuals need to be on our board because the Appleton Fox Cities Metropolitan Planning Organization is also, the commission board is also the policy board for the Appleton Fox Cities Metropolitan Planning Organization. That is the transportation program that we work with in that particular area. And so they sit on there to represent those entities. For each of our member counties has the following representation. There's a county board chair, county board executive, if they have one. There's a county board supervisor that is appointed. And then for each 50,000 in population, there's an additional representative from the largest city within the county, which is usually the mayor or the administrator. Here in Waushara County, you also have a gubernatorial appointment. And in discussing this with the steering committee and the commission board, they're looking to remove those gubernatorial appointments due to the cumbersome nature of trying to get appointments to be fulfilled. Many of our counties would submit applications, try to fill that position with somebody within the community. They had struggles trying to get somebody filled into that position and then send it down to the governor's office, only to sometimes receive notice from the governor's office that that appointment was not going to be considered and they needed to come up with a new appointment. And so the commission board took a look at that And in looking at other regional planning commissions across the state, it was noted that several of them do not have gubernatorial appointments. They just have county board representation, or they have a city representation on there as well. So in looking at that, there was a document that was included in your packet that looked at the board composition for each of our member counties. In our conversations with the steering committee and the commission board, it was noted that some of our smaller counties, such as yours, Shawano County and Menominee County, when we remove the gubernatorial appointments, you would only have 2 board representatives on our commission board. And it was decided to include 1 more county board supervisor to replace that gubernatorial appointment, so that all of our member counties would have at least 3 board representatives on the commission board at any given time. And so you will not be losing representation on the commission board. You will still have 3 representatives moving forward. But there is different steps that we have to do in order to get this passed. And so as noted in my memo, the commission board approved a resolution in support of amending the articles of organization and the bylaws in April. And the next step was to take this to each of the counties in terms of a resolution of support to amend the articles of organization and the bylaws. And then we also, based on our state statutes, have to go to the local units of government, which includes cities, villages, and towns, to take a resolution in support of this resolution. And we have to have a majority of those local units of government and a majority of the population approve that. So there's a couple of different steps. Right now, we're at the county step, and we have a number of our counties that have already approved them. Today I was in Waupaca County earlier this morning, and they approved a resolution. Shawano County and Calumet County have also approved. And so we're kind of working our way down the list. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Yes.
I think the thing that's sort of up in the air, it says that for a small county like Waushara, the chairperson would be on the committee, and the county chairperson would appoint the second representative, but doesn't say anything about how the third representative gets appointed.
Yes, so it's anticipated that the third representative would be appointed by the chair of the county as well.
But it doesn't say that. That's my point.
Okay, I will make note of that, and I will.
It says specifically that the chair appoints the second representative, but if there's 3 representatives, it doesn't say.
No, the appointment would be the second, because the chair is automatically on. Larry would be the first appointment,
Yes.
and then the new one would be the second appointment.
Yes, that's. Pull my packet out.
Says the county chairperson shall appoint a member of the county board to serve as the second elected official from that county. Chairperson is the first elected.
Maybe we can look at that and discuss it at the meeting tomorrow, Missy.
Yes, I will definitely take a look at that.
Okay. But in the meantime, I would recommend that you pass this resolution with that will be corrected out there. Okay. It's okay, Missy. We'll go ahead with the resolution, and then we'll
I
look at that tomorrow.
apologize. I'm looking through the pages. And
Yeah,
trying to-
we have a meeting tomorrow, and
Yes, we do.
we can
Thank you
look at
for
that.
bringing that to our attention.
Yeah. I'm sorry. By King? Okay, it's not on my tablet. We have a motion by Mr. King. Would you like to state your motion?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Waito. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Going, yeah, we're doing peaceful. That you were fussing at me. Okay, any opposed? All right, the resolution is passed. And I'll see you tomorrow, Missy. Thank you very much for coming. Next, we have resolution number 33-06-21, a resolution to exceed the 2021 budget for the purchase of a software system that would replace multiple software programs and help increase efficiency and security of Waushara County financial systems. Do we have a motion? Mr. Lauer, would you like to state your motion,
Make
please?
motion approved.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Mr. Jarvis seconded. Okay, this is a roll call vote because we're spending lots of money here. So do you have any questions or comments concerning the software? I think Barry gave a pretty good presentation and explained it quite well. So if there are no questions, please go ahead and vote. All right, this is passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Next, we have a resolution number 34-06-21, a resolution to reclassify multiple positions on pay scale. We have a motion by Mr. Jarvis.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Kirschner. Okay, do you have any questions or comments?
So that was document 2 that went out in the packet. Those are the positions.
Questions for Ruth? All right, this will also be a roll call vote. Okay, we have 9 ayes, and I'm not quite sure, so I abstained. Okay, the resolution has passed. Thank you. Next, we have resolution number 35-06-21, a resolution to reorganize the Buildings and Grounds Department. Motion by Mr. King to, we'll see what he wants to do. Would you like to state your motion?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second? Second. We have a second by Mr. Kirschner. Any questions or comments concerning this position? All right. We need a roll call vote on this. Okay. We have 9 ayes and 1 abstention. So the resolution is passed by majority vote. Next, we have resolution number 36-06-21, a resolution to reorganize the administration department. Motion by Mr. Eckstein. And would you like to state your motion?
To approve.
Okay, his motion is to approve. Do we have a second? Oh, Mike can't vote, Mike. Okay, we have a second by Mr. Cap. Do you have any questions or comments about this resolution? Hearing none, we will have a roll call vote. This has passed by unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Next, we have resolution number 37-06-21, a resolution to create 1 additional deputy clerk of court, the deputy register and probate / judicial assistant, juvenile clerk, and amending the register and probate to the register in probate / judicial assistant. Do we? Motion by King. Would you like to state your motion, Pat?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second? We have a second by Mr. Lauer. Do you have any questions or comments concerning this, Bob?
So that one person or is there several there?
It's 2 new people and then amending the job description slightly of the register and probate.
Okay.
Any other questions? This will also be a roll call vote. Okay, that's passed by unanimous vote. Thank you. Next, we have ordinance number 663, an ordinance amending chapter 50, article 2, snowmobiles. Do we have a motion?
So we had gotten a request from the snowmobile clubs to take out the one line in our ordinance limiting snowmobiles during that an extra hunting season, not the normal gun season. We did talk to the DNR. The DNR indicated that that doesn't happen very often. They don't see that it would be a concern, that they thought it was worth trying. And if it became a concern, we could always fix it later. So that's where this came from.
Motion by Mr. King. Would you like to state your motion?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Lauer. Do we have any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Next, we have ordinance number 664, an ordinance amending Waushara County zoning maps pursuant to the authority granted in Chapter 58, Wisconsin County Code Zone Change. Philip and Dorothy Boat, Town of Springwater. Motion by Mr. Wadle. Would you like to state your motion, Mr. Wadle?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second by Mr. Kirschner? Any questions or comments concerning this ordinance? Hearing none, all in favor?
Motion. That was an aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, next we have ordinance number 665.
Long day.
An ordinance amending chapter 50, article 4, Waushara County Code.
Oh, Megan, do you want to pass those out? I'm sorry, when the packet got sent out, I didn't have all of the language in there. So here is the corrected language. So the majority of this ordinance is to add some additional provisions for signing, so that it's not all on the highway department, but that the county would still have the ability to fix signs to make sure that they were up to standards. There's 2 additional trails being requested in the town of Richford, one on County B from Cumberland to Cree, and one on Double J from 11th Avenue to 11th Road.
Bob, does that cross the highway
Yes.
on that hill?
Yep.
Holy cow. Okay.
Unless you choose to change that from 21 to Cree, because those people that have no way to get onto the town of Richford roads, which are all, as soon as the signs are up, will be open for ATV use. Those people are being left out if they can't use the county highway. I'm not sure that 21 is a good idea, but they're gonna cross it below the hill on the other side, so that's bad enough, but that's a continuation of 9th Avenue. But if not, you handcuff a lot of people from using the roads, township. I would amend it if that's necessary to say, instead of crossing 21 from Highway 21 to Cree Avenue. And they can go around if they have to.
Go on to 20.
If the board thinks that's too dangerous.
Well, how about if we hear from the sheriff? thought you were getting the night off, didn't you?
I'm dying.
Well.
Crossing there are 21 and B. The 21 and B was.
We passed the ordinance to go from, Johans to trap line. So that's where it dead ends. Somebody suggested clubs that we open it up to cross 21 to continue on B to Cree. People that were most boisterous live along B and said, if we don't get that part at least open, we can't utilize the town of Richford's roads for ATV traffic.
Okay. So crossing at 9th is not the option anymore?
It is the option. That's the only way they can continue on the north half of Richford's roads.
Sure. I don't have a problem with that. That wouldn't be a issue.
I mean, if you want to say stop at trap line bar.
Right.
That's fine. Then they can go back around.
back
the block
around.
And go down to 9th and cross it there.
I believe that would be safer.
I think that would, pardon me, I think that'd be much safer, that coming down that hill.
They are gonna cut the
I
hill.
know.
When they cut the hill, that would maybe be a different opinion
yeah.
at that point.
They can look
for
at it
traffic.
at that time. when the
Right,
hill's
we
cut,
could
they can
revisit
look
it then.
Okay, fine. I have no problem with that.
I know, I go to the greenhouses on B, and pulling out onto 21 to come back to Waushara is really iffy.
That would be
Pretty dangerous.
the safer thing.
That'd
Until the construction is complete there, I would think that would be, would be safer.
I mean, it's gonna be closed sooner or later, but just right now, if I can get that, I guess the people that I represent would be happy, so that they can at least go from 21 to Cree.
Mhm.
And get onto the Cree, then go around to
Go around.
11th, then go around Cottonville. They get to do a real scenic cruise of the town that way.
That's right.
agree.
That's more fun anyway, to be able to do
No
that.
crossing 21
Thank you, Ollie.
at night, but not on B.
21 and B.
Larry, do you have a question?
We weren't given this information, most of us, till tonight. Really haven't had a chance to investigate this. Therefore, I think we should table it till next month. Finally decide what they want to do. I'll make that motion.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Tim to table this till next month, so everyone has a chance to study this a little more. Do we have a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. I'm sorry, Larry.
My mind died.
What?
Computers are all dying.
Huh?
Mine died. My
Pat's
computer
died,
died.
mine's gonna.
Okay, we'll continue on with well, we have left our voice votes anyway, so. So we'll just make the motions by, raise your hand. If we could get some lights on in here, I might be able to see your hand. Thank you, Ruth. Okay, the motion to table died, so I will ask for a motion to approve or deny.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, with those changes that Bob, or that the sheriff and Bob have talked about.
Yes, not crossing 21 on B.
So
Right.
just so that I get the wording correct, so then it would be on County Road B between 21 and Cree.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Lauer, second by Mr. Radel. Do we have any other questions? I do, as far as the signing is concerned, I understand that there is supposed to be no signing on stop signs, and I have found one that was, they slapped it on the stop signs.
Is it on a county road? If it's on a town road, those are different rules.
Oh, are they?
Mhm.
Okay,
I told them, the people that are signing mine, I told them they could not put them on stop signs. So
right.
if it's on
Yeah,
mine-
it's not in Richford,
Okay.
it's in Dakota. That other township.
That other.
I think you represent them, don't you, Donna?
Think so. Think. Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there are no further questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have appointments. And the first one is for the Commission of Aging, and the first person is Debbie Gierak from Wild Rose. Her term both terms will be from June 1st, 2021 to May 31st, 2024. The second one is Patricia Lankow from Wppa. Would you state your motion, Mr. Eckstein?
To approve.
Motion by Mr. Eckstein to approve. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Cap. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we are, last month, we approved a redistricting, having a redistricting committee. We said we would have 3 board members and 2 from the community. The first one is Joe Horvath from Pine River. The second one is Pat King from Wautoma, Mark Piaski, Red Granite, Larry Tim, Pine River, and John Van Amerongen from Pine River. Do we have any questions concerning these appointments? Yes, Mr. Waddell.
I mean, not that I care, I know volunteers are hard to come by, and that was a volunteer to step up, correct?
Yes.
3 from one community, that's.
4 from one community. Okay,
I mean, I know you had said if somebody wanted to. they should
yes.
Step forward, but I
Right.
thought maybe some citizens would come forward from different localities in the county, but.
Well, Mr. Horvath has been interested in this redistricting from the get-go. So to me, that was, you
That's
know,
fine. I
yeah.
just was curious if nobody else in the county cares or.
I don't know. Well, tell me, would you like to be on the committee?
I don't have time to do what I gotta do now, Don.
See, there you go.
Otherwise, I.
And we had volunteers, and I think they'll do a good job. So I will entertain a motion. Motion, would you state your motion, Mr. Jarvis?
I make a motion to approve the redistricting committee.
Okay. Second by Mr. Eckstein. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Now, the Ethics Board is being reappointed, and that is Jim Jarvis, Mike Likeness, Kent Peterson, and Linda Steffen. Yes, Mr. Waddell.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have motion by Mr. Waddell to approve, second by Mr. Lauer. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next, we have the CDBG Housing Committee. We need 1 person on there, and I asked a person, but I don't know if they are accepting. You are, okay. So John Jarvis will be our representative on that committee. I think they meet quarterly, and you'll probably have to go to Wood County for the meetings, maybe?
They just had a meeting.
Yeah, you have at least 3 months.
Main reason.
Okay,
Planned on.
I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Lauer, second by Mr. King. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. One of the reasons I asked John to do this was because he is also on the CAP Services Board, and I thought that would be a good, a good match. So I appreciate you taking that. Board suggestions for future agenda items. Yes, Mr. Waddell.
Don't have quite so many speakers or resolutions.
We'll work on that, but we're busy. We're busy right now. Okay, the next meeting will be, and I can't make any guarantees, Bob.
And can we get longer extension cords so we can all charge up here? I charged,
Well,
mine was full.
I know, hopefully, yeah, yeah. 2.5 hours is about what they'll,
Yeah.
so.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, our next meeting is July 20th, 2021 at 7
have to
PM
go
at the
back and
Saxville
forth.
Town Hall, W4022 Archer Avenue.
What's the easiest way to get there?
You can't get there from here. I would guess it's County A, isn't it? County A out of Wild Rose. A to E. Bob, just plug it into your,
I don't have one of those fancy machines.
you do on your phone.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Eckstein to adjourn,
I'm going home.
second by Mr. Lauer. We are adjourned.
Just before you get to Saxville, then, Larry?
I recommend,
But it's just before you get to Saxville.
On the other
Yeah, we
side.
gotta go through the four
I
corners.
recommend we don't do this.
I guess maybe you.
And no, I mean the meeting. Meeting. Yeah, we're not gonna do anything.
Pick you up at Johann's or something. You remember to call me, you remember to call me.
Okay, you wanna keep this till tomorrow? These are done. And I'll stop in tomorrow.
Call each other.
No, here's another one.
Well, don't worry.
There.
You see my phone, it's all, you gotta do this. Right.
Probably so, yeah. Cause I don't, yeah.
Right? I am so hungry now. I can't.
You gonna make it tomorrow, Mike?
Yeah. For your mic.
Yeah, you gonna make it?
Somebody shut one of the.
Zoning?
Melissa
Huh?
Greener.
Yeah.
If it said it's shut down here, like.
Tomorrow.
Let me see.
It's on site.
She spoke so
Yeah,
fast.
I got batteries in my.
Mike and I, and then
Yeah, I have
John been on
batteries in
again.
my office.
If you can't, you can't. I mean, it's,
Thing.
doesn't seem like it's that complicated. Yeah, so.
Wouldn't be the first
I
time
did
you
for
couldn't
that.
get on that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So. Hang on.
Okay.
I think it's Kramer.
Okay.
Eadtke.
Kramer. What's the last name?
Bad key. Badke. It's positive. Badtk. I'm sorry, TK. I'm really bad here. She's on here somewhere.
Yeah.
Here she is. Let's check it, make sure it's true.